Greetings, webheads, and welcome to episode 44 of Witty Banter, yet another Marvel Crisis Protocol podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Alex.
I'm David.
This is JP.
And I'm Will.
Hey, Will.
What's happening?
Welcome back to Witty Banter. Yes, that's right, webheads. We're doing another crossover episode. We've got Will from House Party Protocol that's here because Ministravaganza was last week, and there's just far too much stuff for one podcast to handle. So we are doing the great combination of podcasts where first thing that popped in my head is Voltron, but I don't know if I think we're all probably of the age where we can agree that Devastator is the coolest combiner. Are we all in agreement on that?
I think that's fine,
Listen,
but the Voltron reference people will get, so maybe we go with that.
That's probably true. Okay.
I agree.
we're just welcoming him to the Spider-Verse.
That's it.
Okay.
Will,
Does that mean we're
brought the party to the neighborhood. He's got a trunk full of booze, illicit drugs. Did you bring condoms too, Will?
No.
That's your job. That's your job, JP.
We don't use condoms around here. Duh.
So we're going to do this in two parts, webheads, which means you need to subscribe to both feeds. We are going to talk about the rule changes, and then over on the HPP feed, we're going to talk about the character updates. So if you want to get the full Ministravaganza experience, you got to subscribe to both feeds. And quite honestly, if you're not subscribing to both feeds already, what are you doing with your life? I'm sort of disappointed with you already.
Honestly.
First rule change I think we want to talk about is the changes to roster building and specifically how missions are built. David, can you summarize for us the changes as to how we're going to be doing this going forward?
So the changes to the missions, holy crap, like that's a lot. Do you have what the actual changes are?
The first rule change we want to talk about is the roster building and the mission selections. So to really briefly summarize it, when you're building a roster, now instead of taking 3 secures and 3 extracts, in your roster you take 5 secures and 5 extracts. You roll priority, and it's the same in terms of the person who wins priority gets to pick extracts or secures. But then what happens is you draw two of the extracts or 2 of the secures, flip them over, and then the opponent gets to pick which of the 2 they want to play. So basically the opponent gets a veto over one of the 2 either extracts or secures that you've chosen. And then it works the other way as well for the opposite. So you get to veto one of your opponent's chosen missions, and you get to veto one of your opponent's chosen missions. So, David, what do we think about that change and how it's going to modify how the game's played?
So I guess I should lead with I haven't actually played any games with this change. So this is just pure speculation. But at first I thought this was like kind of not great because I was losing agency and like being able to like pick what crises I think are the best for my particular roster. And then now I have to like add more things that I'm maybe not necessarily as good at or want to play. Right. So like, for instance, take webs, for example, like webs are like really good on like scoundrels, and they're really good on riots, and they're pretty good on, cosmic invasion, right? But now I gotta start adding extra crisis. Like now I gotta probably take infinity. Maybe I'm taking some other 5th crisis. Like I hadn't really, maybe it's a pay to flip. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just,
It's deadline to destruction every time.
Yeah, it's deadline.
It's deadline.
But by the way, my point is that you're introducing more crisis that you're not necessarily as confident that you're going to be good at, and I think that can be kind of damaging to like the affiliations that are skewed to play on certain crisis. Like back to my webs example, webs are fantastic on riots, right? but now they're going to lose the opportunity to get to play riots most of the time because their opponent's just going to veto, because they're going to be like, oh, I drew infinity in riots. Oh, I don't want to play riots into webs, so I'm gonna drop riots, right? And then and obviously the reverse applies. You get to pick like what you think is your best of their extracts, which it could be. I mean, that could be a good thing too, because like there are affiliations who want to dodge very specific crisis, and having the ability to do that is like pretty good. So now that I've actually thought about it, I really kind of like it, because now it's going to reward the players who have the ability to like look at somebody else's roster and go, oh, I see you want to play, you're set up to play intrusions really well, and like intrusions pops up, and then I get another crisis, and I'm like, maybe we'll take infinity formula now, right? So I think it's going to reward the players who can decipher other people's rosters like that, and give you the like. It's kind of like it adds an interesting decision tree to the like start of the game, like before you even like pick models out and stuff, where you're having to like think, if I say I don't have priority, right? So I get to choose the threat. I can look at the two crisis that I pick and go, which threat do I want to play? Like maybe I want to play 20, maybe I want to play 17. And you can kind of like, if you can have the ability to decide that, hey, of those two, which one would I rather play? Maybe like it's giving you a lot more powerful decision making that could impact the state of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Will, what were your first thoughts when you saw the change in terms of how we set the crisis up?
So I had some similar thoughts initially, right? I've been able to get a couple of games in with this change since it went live. And it's one of those where somebody like myself that came from playing webs when they first came out, right? I've oscillated between the webs and the wizards for a long time. And then I've dipped my toe into the big stompy robot Sentinel waters. And, we'll talk about them a little bit later on the HPP podcast. So, yes.
Oh, yes, we will.
Can't wait. But all of that to say, I think that this crisis selection process now, it really, like David said, brings an opportunity for skill expression that wasn't there previously, right? Like previously, what we had was a system where, and that I liked, I'll cop to that. I liked it because it was predictable, right? It was, I know if I roll up with my web warriors or my wizards that I have at least a measure of control of one half of this scenario that we're going to be playing and that I will feel good about. Now, one of the things for me as a player that I've always prided myself on is being able to think on my feet during the match, and having a turn 0, turn 1 kind of play, air quotes, was never really my thing. And so I think if you're that kind of player, if you're the kind of player that's like, all right, on this extract, I have this play and I do this when I have priority and that when I don't have priority, right? Like there's those players out there. I think this change hurts those players. Ultimately, I don't think I think we all could agree to that. But I think that what this does is it allows you to have that skill expression of, okay, I have these 5 crises in my secures. Maybe I feel better about my secure selections than my extract selections, so I'm going to pick secures as the player with priority, and I flip over let's say I'm playing webs again, and I flip over scoundrels and deadline, because everybody's got a deadline in their roster. I don't know why you wouldn't have it in there. It's the best crisis. Just enjoy it, love it. Everyone should. But anyways, so I like both of those crises, right? Because they're in my roster. I like both of them. So now my opponent says, well, I don't want to play on Scoundrels because I know that's really good for webs. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, we're going to play on Deadline. And now I'm going to go run around this board pushing buttons and you ain't going to be able to stop me. Oh, and by the way, you're going to take damage while I'm pushing all those buttons. Sweet. So like, I think it really opens up an opportunity to try to be flexible and to not have it all planned out ahead of time. Right. And I think that is exciting. Is it good? It remains to be seen. I've got a couple of games under my belt, but the community at large will be able to determine this. I mean, by the time we get to Adepticon next year, that's when we'll know if this is a good change or not. But I think that the people that are going to be most hurt by this are the people that are in that upper tier that have things meticulously planned out, that get reps into exact specific scenarios, and they've measured out, spoiler alert, their deployments and all of those things, right? Like all of that stuff. JP, I want to know your thoughts on this though, because I hear the sound and it sounds like it's your brain winding up for a rebuttal.
No, that was just me fapping. Okay, so I was actually a little different than you guys. I immediately loved this change, just because I think it's going to fundamentally change kind of the way MCP has been played up until this point.
100%.
Meaning, well, so let me preface this with saying that I think the current map pool there's more variability in it as in terms of builds than it had been. Like before, it was like very strict. Like if you're like an attrition team, you're going to take this. If you're a scenario team, you're going to take this. I think the new crisis pool has mixed that up a little bit, but having to take almost twice as many secures and extracts means that there's just going to be more variety of things taken in general, and what would be considered your weaker or weakest secures or extracts will be chosen by your opponent. So teams that normally would run X, Y, or Z are probably going to end up playing like the two others more often than the mainstays that they had been running, just because their opponent has agency over which one is getting picked. So I really thought that was cool. Nothing stagnates a meta more than playing on the same secures and extracts almost every fucking game. So that was my first thought. Second thought is, I like the fact that they not only made it a fourth but a fifth. So you're really gonna have to stretch. Some teams are gonna be better at it than others, but some teams were kind of locked in like their top three, and then it fell off after three. It's like it got real hard, and it's gonna hold a lot of teams' feet to the fire, for selecting their crises, and it's, I think, ultimately probably going to force some list building flexibility rather than just going all in on one strat. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that as much anymore. It's probably going to reward. It's going to reward lists that just have alternate game plans, kind of like the list that DeLuca has been coming out lately, where you can play like 4 different fucking affiliations or whatever. Like you can just kind of mix it up, and kind of what goes back to what you were saying, Will, like kind of think it on your feet. Because I think there's going to be a lot more unique crisis setups and like crises that aren't getting played as much. So we're just going to get a lot more variability in the combinations. And I think my third point is, I think that, I don't know, but I feel like this is going to strengthen like the mid-range teams a little bit. Because I feel like mid-range teams have the most flexibility, but they've just kind of been edged out by optimal scenario picks from opponents that are either going full attrition or full scenario. But with weaker picks on those kind of like all in affiliations or builds, I feel like it opens up a window for the mid-range teams to kind of have some leverage there, since they're just kind of jack of all trades.
Alex, what were your first thoughts, or how do you see yourself modifying your list building with this new rule?
I was excited for the change. I didn't see this as a bad thing whatsoever. JP really covered a lot of what I was going to say about it. I immediately started thinking about how I needed to adjust my Apocalypse roster for Adepticon. So, I was thinking about Legacy Virus, because it's something I haven't played in forever. Kind of mirror to what JP said. Attrition teams love Legacy Virus. I hate it now because attrition teams always play Legacy Virus. So it's kind of a breath of fresh air, because then I'll be able to play these things or possibly see them without everybody else having them. I think it's just good all around. I don't think there's really any kind of negative to it, because to mirror and echo what Will said, it takes out those, or not necessarily all of them, but it really hurts those turn zeros. And I never thought of turn zeros like that. Not because it's a bad idea to think of it that way, but I like playing the game with some sort of chaos to it and see if I can win other ways.
My brother.
Instead of having to deal with my Namor didn't grab the midpoint, I lose.
And that's what it started to feel like at times, right? Especially at high competitive levels. And you didn't have to play like that, right? You didn't have to have Namor grab the midpoint to be successful, but it was the lowest barrier to entry of having success in a competitive environment, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that kind of leads into the next rule change, which comes along with it. So now you've done your new crisis change and you've got your crisis picked. Now both teams deploy, and the person who won priority goes first. You get deployed, and then you have a second priority roll, and the second priority roll determines who goes first. Oh,
I do want
Alex?
to mention, Patrick, they did change who selects board side as well.
Okay.
The winner, the person that won priority in the first priority roll, now picks the table side.
Okay. So if you win your first priority roll, you get to pick your board side.
Yep.
Okay.
Very interesting change.
Question: Do you do that before you pick crisis?
No.
No, you do crises and then board edge.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you deploy, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. Which then the next big change is you do a second priority roll, and the second priority roll determines who actually goes first. So you don't find out if you're going first or you're going second until after you deploy. Will, how big a change is that to the game?
Well, I think it layers into the previous change in basically what we were talking about earlier of, okay, well, I know that I'm going to get to pick my secures or extracts, right? Like I would imagine that any competitive player is still going to know what is their strongest set of cards going into a game. And so they will, if they win that initial priority roll, say, okay, I want my secures or I want my extracts. And again, I mean, it's still open information at the beginning of the game too, right? So if you see that your opponent has 3 out of 5 secures that you really would like to, and their extracts really suck for you, well, then it's like, okay, well, do I risk it for that biscuit? I mean, I'm a gambling man. I have lost a lot of money on the NBA lately because, they're doing things in the NBA, but that's neither here nor there, okay? We're not talking about that, guys. But no.
The NBA is totally legit. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's totally legit, guys. It's fine. I'm just going to bet on college sports now because that's legit too, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
No,
Yay, sports ball.
Yes. I'm going to bet on DeLuca to win tournaments. just going to do that.
Yeah.
All right, that seems fair.
That does seem unfair.
No, I mean that's the safest bet there is, probably.
It's not wrong.
So
Should we add some prop bets like, you get this much money if he plays Dormammu or something?
right, or if he one shots a character with She-Hulk or something? Yeah.
I think we can set the over under on number of affiliations he's going to play at 3.5.
That's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, I'll take the over. I don't know.
Yeah, you and me both.
But anyways, no, I think that this really rewrites what we've known more or less about Marvel Crisis Protocol for 6 years now, and this deployment edge change again. It really mixes up the understanding of turn 0, turn 1, all of these things. Your prep work is going to have to be more about what happens in the minutia of a game as opposed to how do you gain the early edge at every opportunity, right? Like the Namor example. It's a perfect example, right? I've got Namor on one side and Luke Cage on the other. Cool, man. I'm gonna sit pretty with these extracts over here, and whichever one you go get, I'll go punish the other one. Well, now it's like, well, you deploy, then you do a priority roll. So you don't get to know where you're going to be able to interact with the game, right? Like you don't get to know who's going first until after your models are on the board. And I think Schick did a great job of explaining and expressing the design intent behind this on the stream when he was like, okay, so if you want to be aggressive, you want to put your Namor on that side, right? You want to put him off on the wing on a scroll and go get that scroll. Well, all right, well, you might not be going first. And now your opponent counters with something and your Namor's just left over there, swinging his trident in the wind, trying to catch up the rest of the game. You know what I mean? And that is a game that I have liked to play with Marvel Crisis Protocol for a long time, is one of, okay, you did that. Well, all right, you're all the way over there now, so I'm going to go do stuff over here. And I love this change, honestly. I love it because, y'all alluded to earlier, sitting down at the table, I lose priority roll. There's a Namor. There's an insert whatever model. Namor's just the flavor of the month, but there's a whatever other model on the other side of the table that has a turn 1 play. Cool, man. Good game. I'm going to be on the back foot this whole time playing catch up. Well, now I have an opportunity to deploy aggressively, deploy conservatively, whatever it is, and then let the chips, or the dice in this case, fall where they may. I love it.
I mean, you know what we're gonna have now? We're just gonna have Steve 1 and Black Bolt 1 lists just running Namor up the front.
Yeah, probably. Well,
and, if you lose Prio, then the Namor just grabs it. If you win Prio, you grab it, and then Namor charges and just fucks you in the butt with his trident twice.
And I think that is another interesting point, right? That after we go through the overall deployment is like, what does this do for your squad creation ideas, right? But I don't want to jump the gun.
Yeah. So I do want to talk about that kind of once we get through the rest of the rule changes. David, so we've seen him take Eyes on the Prize out because they wanted to take out the turn 1 stuff, and now we've seen it where even the models like Namor or ASM that can accomplish a safe turn 1 steal, you really don't know if you can do that or not. So what do you think these rule changes are signaling in terms of the nature of the game that AMG wants to see played?
I love how you just casually shit on Angela by admission.
Angela doesn't exist anymore.
She does not. Mad respect for that shitting. Good job.
And Angela's my girl. But after the throw rules, which spoiler alert we'll talk about, Angela's gone from okay to even I have to bench her. So, but we'll get there.
Thank God, because I hate playing against her. She's my second Killmonger. Anytime that bitch is on the table, I'm like, well, I just lost 4 threat.
Get the saran wrap. We're shitting all over this bitch.
I am so sad I have to bench Angela, but Sentinels are good again, so I'm coming. David, what do we think about how the game's changed?
So I really, really like this because I think it rewards players who can like think of multiple plays at deployment. You know what I mean? Like you brought up the example of ASM, right? So say we're playing, I don't know, say we're playing spiders or spider infected, right? And I'm playing webs and I got ASM. I can deploy ASM in the middle of the table and go, okay, if I have priority, I just take this extract and go back. If I don't have priority, I just double move to one of their back extracts and steal it. Right? Like, so I have options to like, maybe I can do multiple different things, which means that my opponent's going to have to think about like, if they don't have priority, what do they do? Right? I just like the decision making that you can have because you don't have perfect knowledge, right?
Exactly. That's it right there, man.
I could not agree more. JP, you are very intense and intricate in terms of your roster building and your turn one planning. So how do you see this changing how you're going to approach the game apart from taking more Steve 1?
Oh man, well, you buried the lead.
I'm a lead barrier.
I actually don't run a lot of mid steals these days, so it's not going to change probably anything. I guess it might be a little bit because I usually have a designated mid stealer. So it depends on what the map is. Like if it's like a C extract, I guess it doesn't matter because if I position correctly with a mid stealer, when I say mid stealer, I'm just talking about someone who grabs it. When I position someone to grab the mid, I guess if it's on a C, it won't matter because I'll just position equidistant to 2 points and grab the one that doesn't get grabbed. For a mid grab though, it's whatever. Like it is what it is. So I guess now that I'm thinking out loud about it, it probably doesn't. It's not going to affect me too much, based on how I currently build this. We'll see how it ends up. Like I don't put Namor or ESM, and definitely not Angela on the table. So, yeah. But going back to the other rules, I kind of wish that they had given second player a little bit more in that rewrite. I think that first, like the person who wins prio is still got a lot of good things going for him. Like now they get to pick table edge. Are you fucking kidding me? Like
really the only thing that second player at this point really has agency for is threat level. Am I getting that right?
You would be correct.
Yeah, and they get one more coin flip to take back. Well, not take back, but to win the quote unquote prio for the round one. But they lost table edge pick, and based on the order of operations of choosing crises, the prio player gets to pick the preferred one their preferred one, and then they get to veto second. So they can pick whichever one that their opponent landed on after their opponent vetoes theirs. So they can ultimately engineer a better crisis combination for themselves by vetoing second. And they have board edge pick. So I would have liked to see them split that a little bit more to be kind of like not so much like, hey, I won a stupid roll, so I have like an immediate advantage. I would have liked to see a little bit more balance there.
So what you're saying, JP, is that the person who's picking the crisis first has an advantage and more control over kind of what the game state's going to look like because they get that first pick, and then the second person has to react to it. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah. So like if I'm prio player, I pick my blues. My opponent will. Well, I guess under the rules, I would pick two of my blues at random, reveal them, and then my opponent would choose one to veto, and we'd play the other one. And then my opponent would pick two of the reds, reveal them, and then I would veto one, and ultimately I would engineer the combination. Whether or not that has an impact on the game kind of depends on who's playing and which two are revealed, but there is a potential there to have kind of a not game breaking, but like definitely advantage giving scenario, depending on like the combinations and what teams are playing them.
Because your veto choice can be informed by what the other crisis is going to be, whereas if you're vetoing first, you don't know what that's going to be, so you're operating with less information.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay.
And depending on how flexible your team is versus how flexible your opponent's team is, that could get weird, because like maybe your opponent lands on like your worst one and you land on one of their best ones, or like they're able to play a certain way that you can't, so they kind of skew it toward the way that you can't, and ultimately, I mean, it's probably not going to be like a neutral. Well, I guess it could be neutral, but the potential to be advantageous is definitely there. And to what degree, I guess that remains to be seen, but I could see it being pretty advantageous for the prio player. Obviously, we've rotated out some of the more degenerate.
Hey, you take gamma out of your mouth.
Hey, hot take. Let's put researcher back in now that we have the veto system.
Yeah, it'll never be played. No,
I was about to say.
I like what you're saying with this, JP, in the overall, because there is definitely a touch of an advantage there for the player that has priority, and it's something that I think when I take a step back and I look at this game from a top level, right, and I think about, one, what's popular, two, the broad combination of crisis selections that we have these days, and I think maybe the intent, and I don't want to speak for AMG with intent, but I think maybe the intent could be that it's like, all right, well, it's hard to find 5 crises. I'm going to go with that, crisis. Hard to find 5 of them.
Scenarios.
There you go. That any one affiliation is going to want to do well. And with the specialization that has happened over the last year and a half, maybe 2 years of MCP, where they've taken out a lot more unaffiliated cards, and it's a lot more specialized, affiliated, or character-specific cards, maybe there's a logic to it that is, it's hard to get anything that's going to be perfect. So even if you do get like your dream scenario, the chances are low, right? Like 15%, which means it'll happen sometimes, but probably not often.
I wish they would have balanced it a little bit more. I really hate games that are determined like on an initial die roll, not determined, but like an advantage given. Like, it just sucks. Like, one stupid die roll and like you're already on the back foot. I wish they would have just leveled it out a little bit. It's not like, I don't think that you're like at a huge advantage, but it would, like, there was an opportunity there to balance it a little bit more.
I'm gonna push back on you.
You know what they should have done?
Uh-oh.
No, go ahead.
What they should have done was let both players choose the 2, and then they can look at the 2, and then both players reveal at the same time.
Now that would have been fun. But I think that there's less of an advantage given now than there was previously, right? So, JP, to what you were saying of a single die roll determining an advantage, the prior advantage that was given to the priority player, like, okay, yeah, you don't get to choose threat value or table edge, but going first meant so much, especially in the right extracts, or, you know, for whatever reason, right? Going first has meant a lot. Like, I don't know, I haven't looked at the statistics on Longshanks in a while, but I'm pretty sure it was an over 50% win rate if you had priority.
I would agree, Will, that's taking that away was definitely, we're in a better spot now than they were.
Yeah.
But I feel like they've taken the opportunity to rewrite it, and they could have just rewritten it a little bit better.
I think that's fair.
That's all.
I think that's fair.
I still think that when you don't know when you're deploying, if you're going to go first or you're going to go second. I think that obviates a lot of the advantages because you can't really gain the advantages by making a deployment. You have to deploy neutrally, for lack of a better term. So I do think I think it'll be interesting. If I remember correctly, I think in the aggregate, priority players have like about a 51 to 52% win rate. So there's a slight advantage. I think it'll be really interesting in the next year or so to see how that changes. Alex, I know when I've heard folks from AMG talk about Shatterpoint, they talk about how they really like the game being more reactive as opposed to being more involved with the game before you start. It sure feels like they're pushing Crisis Protocol towards that kind of a game. Do you see it that way, and do you see that as an improvement?
Yes, I see it going that way, and yes, I see it as an improvement. But I think they learned their lesson, just like when it comes to Shatterpoint. It was like, we're all MCV players here. Well, I don't know how much of Shatterpoint you've played, but
enough to know I hate it.
Okay, you have the same opinions as us.
That's unfair. I like Shatterpoint. It's just it's
get the fuck out of here. You're not one of us.
If we're gonna turn this into a shit on Shatterpoint session,
it has its
merits. I'm gonna give my one example, and I'll move on.
Shatterpoint is a fun beer and pretzel game, but I will agree with MCP much more for a competitive scene. Anyway, Alex, we all interrupted you.
No, you're fine. The one example I was going to give, like, I love the reactiveness with Shatterpoint, and I kind of like how that MCP direction is going with all the reactiveness. But please, just don't move in the route of limiting me to only one move action, limiting me to one attack action. Right? Do not limit me like that, and do not limit me to the point of I don't know who I'm going to activate. As long as they stay away from that. I'm happy with it.
If we got random activations in this game, I would sell out of it tomorrow. I'm not even.
Yeah, I was about to say if they take away action agency, we riot.
Yes.
I hate rolling dice. I hate rolling dice and looking at the roll and thinking, is this good?
Yeah.
Well, so I will say, I coming from Guild Ball, I did like their little track system. I enjoy that kind of thing from how I played Guild Ball and whatnot. But yeah, I played a lot of that game, especially early on. I got some of the characters I wanted, and I just was like, this is not for me. It's not for me.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would see myself as more of a reactive player, so I'm all for this. I love this idea. And taking out the whole turn 1 plays or the turn 0 plays, not necessarily taking them out, but boy, it has made it a lot harder to pull them off. Yep. And I see that as a good thing. I love the idea of being reactive. And let's be perfectly honest. How many times in comic books did the plan go exactly the way it was supposed to?
Exactly.
Never. If it was not set up that way, it would be a boring comic book. It'd be in the Sunday comics, and that's all you'd get out of it. Same with Saturday night. Yeah, Saturday morning cartoons, exact same way. How many times did Professor Xavier plan to get captured? 0. Professor Xavier got caught every other week.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
Because he can read minds and shit.
What's the point? Not thought about it. I had not thought about it that way, Alex. It is definitely more thematic. So, okay.
And so what's the saying in the army that no plan survives first contact? So when you get engaged, your plan is out the window anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Muhammad Ali had the quote of everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
That is my favorite quote. All right. So that covers the deployment rules. The next big rule that we're going to talk about is with regards to throw damage. So now, regardless of the size of either the terrain or the character that gets thrown into something, it's always a base 3 damage. So if you throw a lamppost at somebody, it's a base 3 damage, and then you're blocking that. If you throw a size 5 skyscraper into somebody, it's a base 3 damage, and you're balancing from that. So they've completely flattened out the damages from throws. JP, I know you have thoughts about this, so I want you to go first and tell me what you think about this.
I want to make a quick joke.
Yeah.
Agents of Smash was probably the least used tactics card. It's even further down on that list now because of this. That's all I got.
It's fair. Okay, JP, go.
Okay, so contrary to how I felt about the Crisis shakeup, I hated this change immediately, and I've had a couple days to think about it, and I still fucking hate it.
Okay, explain why.
The quote unquote old terrain rules or the throw rules, it added a lot of depth to the game as far as positioning, deployment, things like that. Like you kind of had to work around the size 4s depending on what you and your opponent were bringing. The size 3s obviously kind of played second fiddle, but still 4 damage, impactful. I think it was. It added a lot of depth to the game that just doesn't feel like it's going to be a thing now. I don't know how often you guys throw, or I keep speaking in the present tense. We're in a different rule set now, boys. I don't know how often you guys threw size 2 terrain, but it wasn't very good. And now we live in that world. So I have issues with it from a gameplay perspective. I feel like the game was in. I'm going to be honest here. Full disclosure, I haven't played a game with the new changes, but I know how I'm going to feel. I'm not going to like it. I
Play
feel
Magneto.
like
I'm just saying.
I think even Magneto is not super happy about it. It's whatever. I don't know. Maybe Magneto breaks even on it. I'm not sure. I guess it depends on what the new tables look like too, because they're adding their suggested terrain piece per table has gone up or something. Alex, what is it? Do you know?
20
numbers guy.
MMG, they said anywhere from, or they said like 20-ish. So that's gonna get
What was
crowded.
what was it before?
Fast. 16.
Okay. I mean, so I will say aesthetically, I never really liked. Well, I shouldn't say liked. I never really thought MCP tables were aesthetically representative of like an actual street. You know what I mean? It felt way more sparse. It would have been cool to have just a condensed, like a super dense city setup with like tons of dumpsters and buildings and just like aesthetically cool. But obviously that would skew so badly into throw teams that you wouldn't do it. So I guess maybe you can make like a more aesthetically pleasing table now, slightly. But mechanically, I just don't think it's there. I don't think that the change is. I think it puts a ceiling on play rather than like helping it. Like I feel like having more diverse terrain helped better players win games more, I guess. Like it was just another tool in the bag, and now it's gone. And the silver lining here, and this was a problem that I don't really have a solution to. Everybody ran Brace for Impact.
Some people got it tattooed on their bodies.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know
Which
who
made
would
it
do
hard
that.
to flip. Which made it harder to flip over when you used it.
Look, I may or may not have had to do a backflip or something. I don't know. Well, I had to put my pants back on because it's on my leg.
So I think Brace for Impact is kind of butthole now. So I guess that's the silver lining is we won't see Brace for Impact every game on both sides.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you would have addressed that otherwise. You could probably. I feel like you could have come up with a better solution to the Brace for Impact everywhere problem, than making all terrain count as size 3 or count as size 2. That just seems not good.
So I'm gonna read AMG's rationale for it, and then David, I want you to tell me if you think that holds water. AMG said, throws that deal 4 to 6 damage before the dodge can daze a character with no damage on them, with only one player rolling a few dice, making those plays too reliable. Throws should be an important part of the game, but we want the largest swings in damage to come from attacks where both players are rolling dice and the outcome isn't as certain. With this change, players can include much more size 3 and 4 terrain in their games without worrying that it will warp the gameplay. David, do you think that holds water, or I guess what do you think about this rule change?
So, from JP's point of view, you can tell he's definitely a Hulk simp, right? Like,
hey, hold on, wait, whoa. Hold on.
And Bill too.
The amount of times that I throw size 4s is way lower than my opponent. I always use their throws to throw characters.
If nothing else, this rule change is just pointed right at Angela's heart.
Real quick, JP, I do want to mention, what size were those characters usually? 4. We'll move on.
Well, what do you bring, a bitch? That's up to you. You chose your poison.
But my point is that I really love this because it makes like a ton of my characters that were like, it always feels fucking terrible when you're like 4 threat in Charles Xavier gets like completely KO'd by a fucking garbage truck, and you're like, well, I guess I couldn't do anything about that.
Yeah, Xavier's Dream doesn't exist. Brace for Impact doesn't exist.
What if you already played Brace? What happens if, you don't have enough power to Xavier's Dream? Like, your like 4 threat character shouldn't just get fucking obliterated by 1 dice roll.
So David obviously simps for Chuck. Moving on.
I do. He is the best. I really like this. Like, this is good for like so many characters out there that like Toad, for example. Like, Toad loves this change because now it's like, oh, before people would like double move, throw a size 4 into Toad, and now he like has like 1 or 2 health, and then you just activate daze him and take his extract. Well, now that doesn't probably happen. He probably takes like 1 damage, and he gets the opportunity to slippery away maybe.
So I feel like
I think it's really good.
I feel like this has created a situation where there are a lot of character cards who have printed terrain throws that are wildly overcosted now. And I don't know how you reconcile that. I mean, I do know, but I don't know if AMG is going to do it. It would require a lot of reprints.
I do think that's a legitimate point. I do think there will be some backfilling game balance that needs to happen. Alex, can you give us a little more neutral view, like not coming from a pro terrain throw, anti-terrain throw kind of a perspective?
I have that perspective. I want to see what Will says first, though.
Okay.
I want to be like that very neutral perspective.
I feel like a Webs player is not going to be neutral on this, but let's go ahead and try it anyway.
Look. So it's Webs and Wizards. The Wizards are like, yes!
Okay, everybody drink. Everybody drink.
Yeah.
I've been drinking. I don't know where you guys have been.
I was about to say.
Right now, he's like, oh, I don't have to deal with garbage trucks anymore.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, not only does Angela not explode herself, now my Mordo with his 2 physical defense is like, come at me, bro. but no, look, like at the end of the day, I think this is an interesting change. I haven't quite figured out how I feel about it yet, because one of my favorite moments that I have in all of my play of Marvel Crisis Protocol came at my first Adepticon. I was on the stream table, first round, and I had a hope and a prayer of throwing a Juggernaut with a Bill into a Toad to KO him to grab his extract. At the end, it was like late in the game, and Bill walks up, grabs that Jugs, yeet into Toad, doesn't block a thing, KO'd. Right? It was magical. I still didn't win the game because I did bad math, but that's what we're talking. Not what we're talking about. Okay, we're not talking about that I can't math good. What we're talking about is that moment was awesome. Okay, it was awesome because it literally was one of those like, this has to work or else I'm in trouble, right? And I think that with this change to throws, those moments, right? The terrain throws got hit the hardest, but the character throws too, because those moments now are going to be subdued, right? Yeah, you're still going to have a time where you throw Juggernaut into Toad and he does take 3 damage, and then you're like, okay, cool, I just needed the 3 damage, or I needed the 2, so let me do this throw. But it does limit the cinematic and thematic element, like Alex talked about earlier, right? Like he was praising the previous change with the crisis selections in that, yeah, you don't always know what you're going to get into when you show up to a crisis, right? And this goes kind of against that, I guess. Whereas now you know kind of what you're going to get into when you do this throw, right? You know that when I throw this size 4, well, it is inherently limited to only going to do 3 damage. So therefore, maybe I still play Brace. Like, I'm probably still playing Brace just because 3 damage is not nothing. And we've all probably had those games where we play Brace for Impact to avoid 1 single damage because that's that 1 damage on that character that's holding an extract. Death to Brace, sure, it might be the death of Brace for Impact. Indomitable is probably now a better card, especially for the character throw situation, right? Just, okay, cool, you can't throw me into my own friends. That's awesome. Let's profit. Mm-hmm. But I like this change sort of in it's consistent and it helps tone down the things that were kind of unfun. Right? Like, even though I had that exciting moment, it was super fun, it was super awesome, and my opponent was cheering, it was late in the game, it was great, right? But we've all had those games where Angela specifically walks up and throws that garbage truck into Chuck, throws that garbage truck into Baron Mordo, throws that garbage truck into insert random other character, and you just get a crappy roll, and now you are just, you're literally, not only are you 1 step behind, you're 2 or 3 steps behind, because now you've somehow lost priority, because that's just how it goes. And that character that just got dazed off of that 1 throw is now KO'd before they ever get to do anything else. So avoiding those instances, I think, is a positive step.
What do you think?
Okay, so I think this is honestly just kind of a, like, rules wise and the actual like impact of the game. I think it's like a net, like it's completely neutral. I think it's kind of evened out here. But my point of view comes from like a thematic, again, like a thematic idea. Very rarely do I remember, like, there's those very small circumstances where, the dump truck from Angela shows up and immediately just takes somebody out. That very rarely happened from what I remembered in Marvel movies, comics, TV shows. Usually the thing that took people out was the thing that was thrown out them after multiple hours of fighting or whatever. It wasn't the first thing that happened and took somebody out. So I see the throws as kind of at this point, they're more of a cleanup than starting the ball.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah, I like that.
I agree.
Yeah.
You guys know we play a game that have exploding crits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the exploding crits do reflect exactly what Will Schick has said since the beginning. The exploding crit of the lucky one-shot, pow, take him out right away. But in the world of throws, like, I don't remember that happening very often in comics and movies, where Captain America's just standing there and then a dump truck takes him out in 1 throw. I just don't remember that happening.
Listen, in Civil War, when freaking Ant-Man threw that thing and had Cap like Cap throw it and he made it big and it hit War Machine. It didn't even do any damage to War Machine. So like, I mean, it's, and very rarely do characters like throw like an entire building at you. Like,
Right.
Hulk is not grabbing an entire apartment complex and throwing it at you. He's probably grabbing the fucking steel girder and chucking that fucking thing at you.
Or,
Yeah,
or
so I
making
always
boxing
saw,
gloves out of a police car.
Throwing buildings feels more like a DC thing than a Marvel thing.
Yes.
Oh, it absolutely is. But that's just how I see it. Like, they
I
made
think
throws a little bit more thematic. The throws are, I feel, at that point, kind of a cleanup instead of a start and finish.
I think that's a good way to look at it. And before we put a bow on this discussion, I think the other important aspect of this is, first of all, this is 100% a Shadow Mags buff, because not only is it a Mags buff in that size 1 terrain that he can throw cheaply will now be doing 3 damage, it is recommended, air quotes, that you add more terrain to your tables. And I can't tell you how many times I rolled up to an event and I'm like, man, I hope I don't have to play a Brotherhood player on that table. And I mean, I think it's good.
It also, even with the change in the leadership, spoiler alert, this is probably a bigger Sentinels buff than the change in the leadership.
Yes.
Because now, as Sentinels player, you don't have to take Brace and Indom automatically to avoid size 5 bowling balls. So,
Yep.
so as the Sentinels guy, I approve.
Well, technically, in the comics, when Rocket Raccoon gets thrown at someone's head, I feel like it does less damage than when a Sentinel gets thrown at someone's head.
Oh, that depends
I'm
on
just
how
giving you shit,
angry
Alex.
Rocket is, honestly.
I was about to say you're throwing rocket a lot faster than you're throwing a Sentinel, so physics might suggest
Yeah.
it'll balance out.
Yeah, the
and,
reality
like,
army, that shit fucking
If,
blows through.
And he's got claws,
and
honestly.
also, Rocket is a lot smaller, so it's harder to see him coming. So,
Right.
like,
And he's aiming for your eyes or your balls, one of the two.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather take a rocket at 100 miles an hour than a Sentinel at 5.
Well, you haven't had a rocket at 100 miles an hour then, my buddy.
All right.
well, and
I-
like, I feel like you could just literally turn sideways and miss a Sentinel at moving at 5 miles an hour.
Or you could do what Charlize Theron did in Prometheus and run in the direction that the thing is falling instead of rolling out of the way. It's a deep cut for you guys out there. Someone got
All right.
that reference. Someone.
I am confident somebody did. It's not me.
Wait, what? In Prometheus?
Yes.
Charlize Theron was in Prometheus?
Yes. You're messing with me right now.
Oh,
You're messing with me.
all right.
You're messing with me.
All right, I'm calling time on this. Where the next thing I want to move on to, because I don't think Charlize Theron is involved at all with this, are the 2 new extract and secure types. We got a tease of the new crisis cards with 1 extract and 1 secure. Let's see, they're called. You have extracts. We have a source token, and then with the secures, we've got to change too. So,
Zone is
Well-
the secure.
zone. That's what it is. Thank you. You want to kind of give sort of a real brief overview of what the 2 new types of secures and extracts we're looking at are going to be.
So yeah, we've got the source extract token, and basically the way this works, think of it as a gumball machine, right? So you're going to put the token in this case, it's an interact, and you're going to interact with the thing, with the objective token, and it's going to spit out something. And then you have that objective token, and then on this card specifically, the jailbreak leads to mass mutant escape. What a mouthful.
Yes, sir.
Basically, during the cleanup phase, whoever is holding onto those tokens, they evaporate, right? You've chewed all of the flavor out of your gumball because, mass mutant escape and flavored gumballs. Or fruit stripe gum? Anybody? Yep, fruit stripe. You've chewed all the
feel like
flavor out.
I feel like there actually is an obscure X-Man called Gumball who is being held in one of those cells.
Sugar
remember
Man
Fruit
does
Stripe.
exist.
I remember Fruit Stripe, and there's a reason it's not around anymore.
Oh yeah, because
It's still around. It's still
Is
around.
it?
You can get Fruit Stripe.
Oh my
Heck yeah.
god, that was the worst gum, man. It would like dissolve. It would like disintegrate.
yeah, it was awful.
As you were like 5 minutes in, you're like, "What the fuck is happening to this gum?" It's like in 6 different
Now,
places on my
though,
tongue.
that initial taste of it was really
It was
good,
good.
though.
It was good, but
It was
anyways,
front loaded. We'll say that.
It had a rainbow zebra on the package. How can you go wrong?
how can you go wrong?
They had two different flavors. A whole 2 different flavors.
Well, I mean, that's about all they had the money for at the time. Clearly, they weren't successful.
That's fair. It's not wrong.
But no, so basically, after the cleanup phase, like during the cleanup phase, and this is explained in the rules document, it basically goes away and you score your point, and there you go, right? And then those things that you interacted with re-energize. They flip back over, or, it's like now they can accept another quarter into the gumball machine, so you can now go grab another one. And go ahead.
Well, and no, just they did put out an errata to make it clear that if you pick up a prisoner, which is the extract, and it's dropped, somebody else could go pick that prisoner up and score it before the end of the round. That was not apparently clear on the card. So they did already make a ruling that you can do that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, because that was definitely a little ambiguous in how this was originally worded. But yeah, the tokens still work like a traditional extract. It's just that now there's also basically, if you want to think of them as secure tokens functionally, they're going to stay on the table, and now you have to constantly run back and go interact with those instead of being able to just hang out and run into a corner with Toad, and then, cool, now I never have to play the game anymore.
Right.
And then...
It reminds me of old Wakandan herbs days.
What was that?
It reminds me of old Wakandan herbs.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. And then the zone token is basically, imagine a cone, in this case a 90-degree arc, on the token, and in that arc, things happen. Like, that's about the simplest way to describe it.
Yep.
And this seems super cool, for the record.
And we haven't seen that one yet, but I know they kind of teased that one of the crises was going to have like a searchlight.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of have a solid Snake sort of a feel to a game.
Like I said, this seems super cool to have something that's like, all right, avoid this area. Like, yes.
JP, what do you think about the new types of secure and objective tokens, and how do you think that's going to affect?
Can I interject?
Yeah, please do.
So I want to talk about this jailbreak crisis.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting things you could do here, right? Like, because when a character holding a prisoner ends its activation, if it's within 5 of a battlefield edge, they drop it, right? Like, you could throw somebody into range 5 of it and then go, okay, what do you do? If you activate right there and stay right there, you're going to drop your extract. So now I'm basically forcing you to either move or drop your extract, which I think is kind of a cool little thing you could do.
Yeah, I'm sure it looks like the idea behind it is to prevent the grab the extract and run away play.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I do think there's all kinds of kind of cool little shenanigans that we'll be able to think and play through. I'm the jailbreak leads to Mass Mutant Escape, and just super excited to
Sounds
try.
so fun.
I agree.
It totally does.
Yeah, JP, what do you think?
Full disclosure, these came out Saturday. It's only Monday. I find like scenarios the least sexy thing in MCP to like analyze immediately. So I haven't given this a full mental run through. I
am 100% the opposite of that.
Yes, you are.
like any new scenario is good for the pool. Like I'm here for it. Anything that expands the pool, I like. Yeah, but in the interest of keeping this shorter than it could have been with me talking, I'll just pass it.
Okay. Alex, any thoughts on the new scenarios?
I'm digging it. I'm happy. I'm excited for it. I felt like, the other thing I wanted to mention with the extract, Kingpin's extract part of his leadership, that stock just went up with that crises.
Oh yeah.
That's all I got. I'm excited, and I'm ready for new crises. Like if they stick with what they're saying, like they're gonna do yearly crises, it's just a matter of time before Hammers gets rotated out, and I'm so excited for that.
Don't you dare touch my hammers.
Get rid of that shit.
All right.
Can I say something before we move
Please.
on to the off the crisis?
Please do.
So,
I feel like David just wants to talk about the crisis the whole time.
I know, right? I do want to talk about this prison break secure.
Okay.
So this secure seems super interesting because you can basically the teams that can rotate really quickly and can take advantage of knowing which secure is not active is going to be kind of cool because you can go, okay, I know that this spot is not active anymore. Can I rotate around to the other side to make it so I can score these other objectives? I think it's really cool.
For if you haven't seen it yet, basically the secures are set in kind of a square. You can contest within 2 instead of within 1, and then during each cleanup phase, one of the 4 secures are chosen at random, and you can't score that one. So that kind of leads you to you can't park on the same one and know you're going to score each round. So just wanted to make sure we cleared that up before you finish your thought, David.
That kind of reminds me of some Shatterpoint mechanics getting incorporated into MCP a little bit.
That's what I thought too.
Just a little bit, but at least you can double move in this game, so you can contest if you need to.
True that.
100%.
Motherfuckers.
And this is not like egregiously far across the map to where, like, you know, you can get there.
Yep.
Yeah, you can definitely get there. And the scoring within 2 is kind of crazy, because if I'm looking at this right, I think a large base could score 2 of these.
Yeah, I think theoretically,
which is crazy.
I don't know.
You might have to measure that one out.
No, I don't.
Within 2?
Oh, within 2? Oh, yeah, maybe.
I think you could stand in the middle of 2 of these and score them.
I think
you can with a large base.
A large base is like 2.5 inches, so we're talking about 8.5. Are they 8.5 apart? I guess on center they would be 9.5 apart. Does that check out? Does the math check out?
Run that in the background, David. I don't know the math.
Run it in the background.
So, okay, hold on. Let me do the math. So 10.
This is in the background, David.
And.
Okay,
so
we'll do it in the foreground.
And a range to 13 inches. So, how much farther is 13 inches over 36?
What?
Is that. It's 23. So, what's half of 23?
11
half of 23?
11.5.
So. You're talking about an 11.5 inch distance between each, probably.
All right, so you're only getting like 2.5 plus 6, so 8.5. So you're off by an inch and a half on either side if you're equidistant.
Story of my life.
So. That might be right. I would have to sit in. I would have to sit and actually put it.
Here, let's go.
Put it on the table and measure it, but it's possible.
No, whoa, you got to pay extra.
It could be
for
possible.
That.
Because doing arithmetic online is exactly the kind of content people come here from.
But I thought we were here for how many jokes can we jam into one fucking sentence?
Well, I mean, if they kept going, it was going to get pretty long, if you know what I mean.
Hello.
Well, either way, even if you can't, the ability to go, okay, well, I can make one move action.
Or spend some power to hop. You know?
Yeah, or spend some power to hop or something. Some at a small distance
I
and
love
basically be in range to contest this thing. It changes a lot of your options with what you can do. And I really like the idea of this.
Yeah. So there's a couple of smaller rules that we're not going to touch on them. The rules changes where you don't count grunts for purposes of passing, and you can't harm your friends with beams and area effects. So those, I don't know that we necessarily want to spend a ton of time with those. I think kind of to wrap up the conversation about this, do the changes in the rules in the aggregate mean that we're going to see more homogenized lists because you have to be more flexible? Is that a concern with regards to the rules, just in terms of, well, everybody's just going to kind of play Steve 1 or play the stuff that can play everything? Will, we'll start with you. What do you think?
So I think that is a valid concern, right? Is defaulting to what is the most flexible, right? I think that is something that you will especially see early on. And things like Steve 1, even Steve 3 and Sam Wilson. I think all three of those characters can pretty much play anything rather effectively, right? I think Apocalypse is probably pretty effective on any combination that you can really throw at him in most situations, right? I'm not an Apocalypse player, but I've seen Apocalypse players be very flexible in how they play. And so, yeah, I think that there will initially be a lot of, I'm going to just put Shang-Chi and maybe Beta Ray Bill, and nope, there's a Namor, and maybe an ASM instead of a Namor. I don't know. I think you will still see the characters that are popular continue to be popular because they are the most flexible. Zemo's not going anywhere, people. Sorry. But but I do think that once we get further down the road, once we get these Sentinel crises out into the game, right? Like once the more stuff like these source and zone tokens come out, and we see the other design space that they're going to explore. I mean, let's not forget that we've only been playing with the War of Kings crisis for a year, not even, right? It's not even been a year. And so I would expect that we're going to see another rotation at some point. And then, again, it's going to be in the fallback to what's familiar before exploring what's possible. And so, yes, homogenized lists will be a thing initially, but once you figure out this system and figure out how to leverage it, like we talked about a little bit earlier, I think you're going to see the specialized things that you haven't seen before be very interesting, right? Like this. No, I'm not talking about like the Inhumans or the Web Warriors. I'm talking about, maybe A-Force finds a place in a world that we're living in now, right? I don't know. Maybe X-Men make a comeback. Maybe Cyclops, it's his time to shine. I don't know.
DeLuca already mined the A-Force, but Scott is not showing his face around here. That motherfucker retired in shame.
Yeah, the no damage.
He needs a second rewrite.
Yeah, maybe the no damage from beams will help him out. Alex, what do you think about the danger of a homogenized list?
I'm excited to just see the changes, man. I don't think there's really much of a danger to begin with. I'm excited for everything that's changed.
Yeah, me too. JP, how about you?
I would argue the opposite in theory, right?
Okay.
I don't think there's an argument that increasing to 5 reduces the complexity of the game. So I think complexity breeds more variety.
Okay.
In general.
I think that's an interesting take because I agree with you in that increasing to 5 doesn't necessarily mess it up, but it's the fact of that you're pulling 2 and your opponent gets to pick 1. I think that's where people are going to fall into the what's familiar and predictable and safe before moving on to what you're talking about.
So you're saying that someone will pull one of their opponent's secures or extracts based on what the opponent finds familiar? Like they'll find the familiar part of their opponent's list.
No,
Is that what you're saying? Or
No. I mean, I'm gonna bring a Steve 1 roster because I know that no matter what my opponent brings, I'm gonna be comfortable in my flexibility with my Steve, Shang-Chi, Namor, Luke Cage kind of people, right? Which they were already doing that, but I think for the top tier players, right? Like your upper echelon players, they might fall back into that kind of similarity. Oh, I'm going to play Shang-Chi everywhere now, or I'm going to play Mummy at all times now because he's just good. And now I know that I can do that, this or that, right? I don't know because I'm not at that level, but I think that there is a bit of falling into what's familiar, easy, lowest barrier before that exploration starts to happen.
that makes sense, and I would address that and kind of go back to what I had said when I was talking about the secure and extract switch up, was that I feel like there will be more. I mean, these are all hot takes, right? But I feel like this is going to lead to a little bit more exploration of the mid-range teams. So I think we'll see probably a little bit more variety. Maybe not at the top tables ultimately, but I think that mid-range teams definitely have more game now since they can kind of cherry pick the weaker secures and extracts of their opponent more often and kind of bring it into line with their game plan of kind of having like a not super scory but not super killy, just kind of like we're going to play a game fairly type of thing at a medium pace. Adam Sandler shout out.
David,
Well,
close us out. What do you think about what list building is going to look like in this new world?
Well, and I think for a lot of rosters, you're going to have to start thinking about like, okay, what happens if I gain priority, or what happens if I don't gain priority? Like, you're going to have to be like, okay, do I plan to have a mid steal, and do I plan to have something that can backdive something? So like, do I plan to set up like a lizard on one side and then go, okay, maybe I also have this character to plan to grab the mid extract if that becomes available to me.
Lizard can do both.
Well, yeah, lizard can absolutely do both, which is
from the
also
same
something
position,
to consider.
right?
And same with ASM, right? ASM can do both. ASM can grab mid, or he can grab back corner or back corner on an F, right?
I mean, ASM definitely does it better, right? Because Lizard grabbing mid is sitting on mid, but he also costs 2 less. I feel like the mid grabbers are definitely. I feel like, so when I say mid grabbers, I'm including people who could use eyes on the prize, but I feel like their presence is way less of a factor now that eyes on the prize has been rotated out.
Right.
Aside from people who have them in their, or affiliations that have those characters in their affiliation list, I don't see Namor and ASM getting splashed as much as you might think for a mid grab.
I can see that.
No, that makes total sense. But I'm also meaning that you might want to have, like, rosters are going to have to start considering if, maybe I need like multiple characters who can grab a mid objective and not just die, right? So maybe rosters are going to start looking at like, maybe I do need to splash a Cage, or maybe I do need to splash somebody like a Bill who can just go out there in the middle and probably survive, right? Which I think is good for the game. I think.
Isn't that always the case though? Don't you always need someone to go out in the middle and grab one if you intend to grab it? Like, you need to pick somebody.
Well, yeah,
you're gonna have someone in
you
your
need
list
to
that
pick
does
somebody
that, right?
to. Well, yeah, but like also there's like more crisis that require multiple mid grabs, like inhuman weapons, and like even in the case of like something like virus, right? So say you are playing virus, now you don't know who's going to have priority, so you don't know if you're going to need 2 mid grabbers versus needing 1 mid grabber, right?
I see what you're getting at.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
I do too. Yeah, and just kind of as a closing hot take, I wonder how much the new rules are going to be incentivize dual affiliations and having flexibility with leaderships too. So, Webheads, we'd love to hear what you think about the new changes in the rules. Do you like them? Do you dislike them? How do you see that changing your games? Let us know. You can reach out and get in touch with us at wittybantercast@gmail.com. You can hit us on all the socials at wittybantercast. We'd love to hear some feedback for you. It's a brand new world, Webheads, and so now that you've made it through this episode, now you need to go over to House Party Protocol and learn about all the new releases for the new characters as well, because you can't listen to one without the other. It's like you can't have peanut butter without jelly. It just doesn't work. So until next time, Webheads, be good.